Before you begin, I just want to point out mostly for the members of the audience.
Yeah, so this is about the
Yes,
screen.
so you'll notice that the screen is dark. We're having trouble with the visual connection to the screen. We do appear to have our connection to the Zoom audience. So essentially, we just can't share documents today. The IT person is on the way to try to take care of it. If somebody in the Zoom audience could confirm that they can hear us, then we will know we're good to go.
Can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, so they can hear us.
We can begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Town of Thompson Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It is Monday, September 26th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Merrill Sinay Community Room and on Zoom. We will begin with a reminder that under citizens' comments and in our public hearings, you could state your name and address for the record. Spend 3 minutes of your speaking time and address comments to the chair in a civil and respectful manner. We'll begin now with a roll call. Mr. Blackmer.
Randy Blackmer.
John B. Linky.
Dave Poplowski.
Brian Santos.
Ray Williams.
Jane Salce.
Mike Kroger.
Alvin Hill.
And Joseph Perotti Brown. We will seat Mr. Santos for Mr. Rice.
Make you feel important.
So
Big shoes to fill, big shoes.
we expect the finance report as well from you.
Wow. Everything's great.
Before we continue, I would request, or I guess I would make a motion to amend the agenda to include under item 9, new business 9A, this item which the zoning enforcement officer has just shared with us, scenic road ordinance 10-042, section 4A.
I saw motion.
Motion
Second.
made by Mr. Santos, seconded by Mr. Krogel to amend the agenda to include scenic road ordinance 10-042, section 4A as item 9A under new business. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, a yes will amend the agenda, a no will leave as written. Mr. Hill. Yes to amend.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Mike Kroger, yes.
Jane Salce, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Brian Santos, yes.
Dave Poplowski, yes.
John B. Linky, yes.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Joseph Perotti Brown, yes. Thank you. Item 3, public hearing, Planning and Zoning Commission, application 22-26, applicant Neil P. LLC, owner of 520 Riverside Drive, map 85, block 95, lot 10A, zone DMRD, requesting a special permit to operate a car wash, motor vehicle services, article 4F, DMRD, section 2, number 20, continued from August 22nd, 2022.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Janet Blanchett, professional engineer with J&D Civil Engineering, representing the applicant. And Mr. Patel was on vacation last month when the public hearing was open. He's here this evening with me. So if there's any questions that I can answer, potentially Leo can help out. Well, you have a long agenda, so I'll try not to go over too much information from last month. But, what he's proposing to do, he previously right now has an application approved for a bigger liquor store or drive-up restaurant. Or any drive-through, it could be a bank, a pharmacy. What he'd like to do is modify that site plan, make the larger building smaller in order to fit in a small car wash. And last month, I got some really good feedback from the commission and the audience with good questions about noise and buffering. And so I spoke to Neil about it and made some revisions to the plan. One of the first questions was about hours of operation. So we put the hours of operation right on the cover sheet that says hours of operation, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. And he did confirm that, you know, when they shut the power off, the power is off. People cannot come after hours and run the vacuums at, you know, odd hours. Somebody, I think it might have been Mr. Poplawski, made a comment about perhaps putting a vinyl fence on the south side of the property that will help screen out the housing to the south for any type of noise from drying. And so this green line here is a solid 6-foot high vinyl fence that was added to the site plan. And he's also reduced the number of vacuum stations. In the application that was approved previously, it was kind of green space with potential for future parking along Route 12. We've pretty much gone back to that and then added where I have it colored in pink, was 2 vacuum stations. So there would be 1 vacuum, and that would be within the noise screening barrier and further from, so, you know, considerably further from.
Wow. We could do that?
Janet, let me interrupt you for just 1 minute. There's a request in the Zoom audience for you to speak into the microphone. The Zoom audience is having a hearing. And point of order, Mr. Chairman, Charlene Langlois just came into this.
There was water and drink it all. Like grandma might have some water. You got water, don't you?
And I've muted her.
Okay, sorry about that, Zoom audience. I will try to do a better job of speaking into the microphone. Another comment received at the last public hearing on the behalf of the WPCA was to make sure that there was 2 separate sanitary services, and we have indicated that on the plan. You know, 1 from the larger building and 1 from the car wash. This car wash is actually 4 feet wider than the one you were seeing last month. And that's in order, it's still just 1 bay of car washing, but in order to avoid putting equipment on the roof, it's going to be, I know, undercover in the sides that necessitated the building. Whoa, thank you. The building being slightly wider. Let's see. I think, so I did cover all the plan revisions, and those all were, you know, great comments received by the audience and the members last month. I think it's a pretty, there was really hardly any site design changes from what he's currently approved to construct and what he's hoping to do now. And this use is a special permit, so that's why we're before you in a public hearing format. If anybody has any questions for either myself or Mr. Patel?
Just got one. The widening the car wash bay, did that affect the lane, you know, the drive-through and the bypass lane at all?
Yes, I reduced the size of them from 12 feet wide to 10 feet wide. So they're still 20 feet, which is more than wide enough for 2 cars to pass each other.
Thank you.
Janet,
Mr. Hill?
hours of operation, that's 7 days a week.
Any other questions for?
Is the garage door, just referencing the one at Webster, is the garage door gonna close at the front and the back during the operation and then open as the car wash is completed?
Yes.
So it'll be similar to the Webster, I don't know if you're familiar with the
Right.
Webster one. All right, so
It's an
that'll
automatic-
reduce sound as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's all contained within the box itself.
Okay, thank you.
There's actually quite a bit of distance between the apartments and that. I took a ride down by there.
Yeah.
And, you know, this was a good chunk of woods in between. So
Yeah.
between that and the fence, it ought to,
Yeah.
you know, quiet it down quite a bit.
Mr.
The only other thing, Janet, that I questioned last time was just posting, because it is a state highway, and I don't know the regs with the state highway, but if there needs to be salt, say there's there's sidewalks there, as the sidewalks get icy, if there could be something posted to who to notify, because it's not gonna be manned, right? It's all mechanical. Put your bills in and get the car wash. Who to call in event of an emergency, if that could be posted somewhere, if the needs to be sanded, whatever, salted. I don't know the state regulations, but I think that would be helpful should the DPW need to contact someone.
And fortunately, Mr. Patel, he's there on site all the time because he owns the liquor store.
Oh, that's, yeah.
So, he's not really not like an absentee person.
We
He's
would have an
he's
on-site
there.
manager.
Yeah, okay.
And
Thank you.
the low point is within the site. So any drip of water that spills off a car, if it hits the pavement, it's gonna float into
Back
the
in.
site and not onto the state highway. The low point is about in here.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from the public?
Beverly Gamble, 3 Plum Road. As I stated last time, I live diagonally across. This car wash is going to be much closer to my property than, any of the other surrounding other than the senior housing. I just feel like when you purchase a property, you know what the zoning is. That particular strip of Riverside Drive is very residential. And I don't feel like a car wash is an appropriate thing to have there. I'm also concerned about this special permit. What is it, like something with vehicles, mechanical or whatever? What happens when he sells the building? Like, what does that permit then open up other businesses to be able to do? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand what that particular permit can do. And I'm concerned also about the future. I am, if, like I said before, I would like the neighbors to be considered, and I am adamantly against having any vacuum units at all. Those are gonna be loud. I just walked it right before I came here. I mean, those are gonna be 100 feet from my property line. Actually, maybe even less if as the crow flies through the woods. I also have a question. Are they going to take down any of the wooded area that's in front? Like, am I gonna have to look at this thing? Every time I'm in my living room, so yes, it's nice that, you want to put something on the side of the housing authority, but I'm just concerned about, my property. So, and I kind of wish on Saturday and Sunday I wouldn't open at 8. So, yeah, and then I would just, if this noise really becomes an issue, like who do I go to? Who do I see about that? So, and then like I said, I'm concerned about, the landscape, the trees being cut down in that area, just because like right now, that area I wouldn't be able to see, but next month I'm going to be able to see it. So that's my concern. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman.
Thanks.
Thank you. Cindy, do you want to speak to the permitting?
So if it changes ownership and they come back, a new owner comes back for a suggestion for that location, then what we do is we look in the district, we see what, if that applies in the district, and then we see if it applies for a site plan zoning permit, site plan review with commission approval or a special permit. So it would have to come back here if they change the character of the subject of the building that they're going to be in.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that there would be like some kind of a, I don't know, like a larger motor vehicle type.
Well, that's
happening
a little
there.
bit more extensive. That goes to the zoning board of appeals. And that is, and plus to the state. So that's a whole nother process, more complicated than what this process is. To get a motor vehicle department, a motor vehicle business in there. As far as your noise, when somebody comes to me and complains with the noise, I go into the application, I look and see what the special permit says, and if they said that it's going to be open from 8 AM to 8 PM during, vested business hours, the noise is at 9 o'clock, well, then I can send them a cease and desist at 9 o'clock. But other than that, the noise, if they approve here, the noise between 8 and 8, 7 days a week, that's it. That's what he can do. Or if it starts at 7 in the morning, then, you can call and I can call the owner and say, it started at 7 in the morning. Don't do it again. And I don't mean it like that, to do that, I would write a letter. So.
Thank you, Cindy. Ms. Halsey?
I've got a question, because of your concerns, especially on Saturday and Sunday, starting at 8 AM, is it possible to push that time back to say 9?
Considering it's an, automated service and it is a service industry. So to have that less hours of operation in business, all because the majority of the traffic is on the road is either in the morning or the evening, So for a business perspective, if you want to have a consistent time frame.
No, I do understand that, but considering it is in a residential area, that, for the weekend, some consideration for Saturday and Sunday, just those 2 days, to start it a little bit later than the 8 AM, because on, most people, Saturday or Sunday, the only days they possibly can sleep in. So I'm just asking if it's feasible to consider, to look at what the residents like,
We can consider that.
okay.
Thank you, Ms. Halsey. Mr. Krogel?
I'm just wondering if it's feasible to put the car wash behind the building. I mean, we have the driveway there. If we move the new proposed building forward a few feet, that car wash should go in the back.
Ms. Blanchard?
I mean, I know that's, well,
This
the building's not there anyways.
one of the things that's very desirable for a car wash or a drive-through business, and your regulations address it, is stacking spaces. So by having vehicles be able to line all the way up, it gives them a tremendous storage so that it doesn't clog up the state highway or the driveway to the rest of the business. So there wouldn't be as much stacking space, and the sewer easement is there. And so the stormwater bioretention area is in between the building and the sewer easement. And we couldn't move the bioretention area back on top of the sewer easement. So those are some of the factors considered in the design and the layout of the site.
Could you also, Ms. Gamble had mentioned the wooded area and the visibility. Is any of that being affected?
Basically for the expansion of the project, even in the currently approved site layout, it does involve pretty much full utilization and clearing of the site to the left of the driveway or the south of the existing driveway. And that would be true with the currently approved site plan or the now proposed car wash site plan.
Thank you. Ms. Halsey?
So what you're saying is some of that wooded land is going to be taken out between the site and the housing complex? No, there's the housing complex has some trees, and there's 33-foot paper street. So Mr. Patel does not own that. So that will remain completely forested. He had this other land. But within his property of what he owns, it would be clearing pretty much to the side property line.
Mr. Williams?
That was pretty much, I had the same question for that side in between there and the housing authority.
Is this open for citizens' comments?
Yes.
This is Sally White at 308 East Thompson Road. And I would like to speak in support of the woman that lives near Plum Road, to the effect that I've seen a trend which is very disconcerting, that concerns of people who own homes, who have a right to enjoy the tranquility of their homes, their investment. They probably work, they come home to enjoy their home. And there seems to be a trend of being dismissive of the people that pay the taxes in town and that moved here to have a life. And I would encourage you to listen to her. The points she made were very valid and important, and she should be honored. And I would hope that each one of you would take those seriously. We seem to be scrambling in this town to invite in businesses, and not all of them are very attractive. There's a car wash in Putnam, there's one in Webster. We don't need one in Thompson, especially in a residential area that's largely residential. There are businesses there to some extent that are quiet. I don't see any point in introducing this business there. And I think it's high time that we as a town begin to listen to the folks that have homes here and not just turn it into, well, can we make a buck with another commercial business, and what can we do to accommodate the business? Let's be civilized and support these people. So I commend the lady that spoke, that lives there, and I hope that you will take her concerns into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Ms. Alsing?
When you said you would look into the, consider changing the hours, I think I'd like a definite answer as to, would you change the hours on Saturday and Sunday to start the business later, the times?
Well, we can delay an hour, 9 o'clock for starting, and then close earlier, 7.
Okay.
But at the same time, investment goes in, it has to make financial. So
No, I mean, I understand that aspect of it, but I am, taking into consideration the people that do live there, and a weekend is supposed to be a little bit more quiet so they can get some rest. So, I mean, in order for my thoughts, that I would like to see that hours on Saturday and Sunday would be put in writing before any decision I make, at least.
Well, how you do that is you put that as a condition, and when it's a
Okay.
condition, when I write up the permit, there's a section in there that says conditions, and then we write that in, I write that in
Okay,
the hours. and
okay.
time.
I do also realize it's a residential neighborhood, and I really appreciated her comments regarding the noise and the visibility, which is one of the reasons why we did revise the plan. We reduced the number of vacuums from 5 to 2 and moved them considerably further into the site. This vacuum station is about 80 feet from the edge of the pavement of Route 12 now. And with the sound of vehicular traffic and everything, I really don't think that if a car is going by, that it would even be overheard, and that the noise of the car would be louder than the vacuum. So I do appreciate the concerns of the neighbors.
Ms. Alsing?
And you said it's the 2 vacuum stations. You have no plans to add extras?
Anyone else from the audience here or from those on Zoom?
I have a question about the future parking spaces.
Mr. Krogel?
What's the actual area we're putting in here? On the building, the proposed building up the road, is how many feet?
80 was the value.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Is it possible to put any kind of shrubbery between the parking spaces and the road? Maybe not 100% of the way across, but something to absorb a little bit more noise.
As long as they didn't interfere with sightline, yes, they would have to be, they wouldn't be like visual screening 6 foot high because it would interfere with the sightline of people coming out the driveway. It would have to be like, less than 3 foot, like a hedge. It would be possible to fit in a hedge. And I just looked on the cover sheet, this building is about 122 feet behind the property line.
There could be some kind of noise reducing shrubbery.
Sorry, everybody.
Any other,
That's the
again,
building that's already there. The only one they're putting up is the car wash one. The other building's already there. Package store and all that.
No,
There's
there's another
all-
building to the left.
The existing package stores in
Is to
this
the right.
building,
Right.
and so
That's all proposed.
this is a
That's all
larger
proposed.
package store
Yeah.
next to it.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood the whole thing. I thought it was just a car wash going in on the other side. of
No.
The building.
No, in, it was 2021, Mr. Patel got the approval to build a larger store.
Right, another store.
Another store. that's
Another
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And so then a different business would
Geez, I
lease
read
his
that whole thing and I
lease his
skipped right over
existing
that.
store.
So that the new, that whole thing is going to be added.
Yeah.
Correct.
Everything in the
Yes.
gray,
Everything
to
in the
left of
gray, yeah,
driveway.
yeah,
Yeah,
everything to the left of the driveway.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Poplawski.
So it's even further over than I thought.
Janet, it didn't dawn on me till just now, so I apologize. I didn't look at the conditions, but where the sidewalk is going to be extended towards the senior living complex. Yeah, is that gonna tie into an existing, is there continuation sidewalks or no?
No. there
Okay.
isn't.
So that's gonna taper down and have some sort of a handicap ramp or something at the end?
I think it will probably be just flush to grade.
Okay,
It's like, eventually, if the different properties build sidewalks, then a network can be established. It's kind of like a little bit like on the Dollar General, there's a sidewalk to nowhere right now, but as more adjacent properties are developed.
okay. Yeah, that was my thought was, at some point, they will all be pieced together, but I wasn't sure if it met current sidewalk or not.
It does not.
Okay. So there'll be a at grade, so if, for a wheelchair accessible coming out, if there was a walkway coming from the senior living, they could get onto that sidewalk. It's just not gonna
Yes,
be
if
perfect.
if the senior
Curbstone.
living, like if they do a renovation and they decide to build sidewalks along their frontage, then it can absolutely tie right in flush to grade.
All right, because that's because the other sidewalk was built already. And I know that one in front of the existing building, there's a sidewalk. There isn't?
No,
There's nothing yet.
Okay,
so this is basically along the frontage as part of the, increasing pedestrian improvements in the downtown area to make it more pedestrian friendly.
so the plan showing sidewalk in front of the existing building too, is that,
The frontage of the whole property,
oh, so there's gonna be sidewalk the whole frontage
yes.
with this, okay. All right.
Mr. Santos.
Want to let you know the senior housing complex is doing a large sidewalk construction project. We want to communicate what we're doing. with
Okay.
them. Yeah.
Good, because they already have an informal walk through the woods. They have a quite established path.
Did that, yeah.
It's a-
They're going to the dentist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, the dentist is there too, yeah.
That's all I have.
Again, any other questions or comments from tonight or those on Zoom?
Yes, Sally would like to make another comment, please.
Yes.
Something that I had meant to say, and that is, as you ponder this, I would ask you all to consider, how does this enhance Thompson? And is this in keeping with the description, the characterization, the nature of Thompson that is used in some of the material that essentially markets the town to draw in new residents. I don't think that people are going to move here. They're going to go down their list of what they want in a town, and they're not going to say, "Oop, car wash, that's a check, that's a plus for us," especially if they can go to the surrounding towns. But I don't see how this enhances Thompson. And how does that relate, again, to how the town is described and the way that you want to perpetuate the nature and character of the town? I just don't see a fit at all. In addition to that, it's also a matter of whether people want to sleep in later or not. It's whether if they want to go out on their porch and have a cup of tea or coffee, and in the morning, in the afternoon, they get home from work, maybe they have a deck or a porch, they want to have company. And if indeed there is the sound of vacuums and other things going on, that's not very tranquil to sit outside your home. Again, I think that we should protect the nature of the town and ask, is it enhancing the town? Is it a plus? Is it really gonna move the town forward? Or are we going to disturb the tranquility of the residential neighbors? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Hearing and seeing no other questions or comments.
A motion to close the public hearing.
Motion made by Mr. Santos, seconded by Mr. Blackmer to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion on the motion to close? Hearing none, a yes vote will close, a no vote will keep open. Mr. Blackmer.
Randy Blackmer, yes. John Violenti, yes.
Dave Paplowski, yes.
Brian Santos, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Jane Salsa, yes.
Mike Kugel, yes.
Alden Hill, yes.
Ms. Langlois
Charlene Langlois, yes.
and Joseph Peretti Brown, yes. Public hearing for application 22-26 is closed. Item 4, discuss public hearing and possible action.
I just want to let you know that this, I believe I did the math last week, and this is the last day of the public hearing. You have to make a decision tonight or ask the applicant for an extension.
Thank you, Cindy. With that, the floor is open to the commission for discussion on possible action. Go ahead, Mr. Blackmer, and then Mr. Santos.
All right, I would move that we approve this with conditions.
The motion has been made to approve with conditions.
I'll second that motion.
Second, made by Mr. Blackmer, seconded by Mr. Hill to approve application 22-26 with conditions.
Can I know what the conditions are?
Well, I think that's going to be part of the discussion for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, did you have the conditions in mind, Mr. Blackmer?
Well, I think Mr. Patel said that he could move to 9 o'clock. I would say if he'd moved to 9 o'clock on Sunday, we'd let him open the gate on Saturday.
Okay, so Mr. Blackmer is proposing hours of operation 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 9 a.m. through,
I don't know whether 8 o'clock, 7 is, let's go with 8 o'clock on all nights
9 a.m. through 8 p.m. on Sundays,
for the sake of discussion.
for the sake of discussion. Ms. Halsey.
I feel strongly that Saturday and Sunday should be 9 to 7. It is a residential area. These people have lived there for a long time. Now there's something that is coming in that is going to disrupt what their lives normally are on Saturday and Sunday. And I don't think that the 4 hours difference that we're cutting off of that schedule is going to make or break this business. So I'm looking at really taking into consideration the people that live around there. It's something that I know I was living in that area Saturday and Sunday, I wouldn't want something waking me up at 8 o'clock in the morning or hearing that noise. So I really firmly believe that we should take into consideration the citizens in that area. And like I said, the 4 hours difference is not going to make or break that business. And I think we need to take the citizens into into consideration. Those are
Thank-
my thoughts on it.
Thank you, Ms. Halsey. Mr. Santos?
I can definitely support the 9 to 7. That's what I was thinking as well for a
Yeah.
Saturday. and Sunday.
Yeah.
Myself also.
8 to 8 Monday through Friday, 9 to 7 on
Yes.
Saturday and
Yep.
Sunday.
Sure. I think we ought to make it so that no trucks or any traffic on the road until after 9 o'clock in the morning to
Miss-
state highway.
Mr. Lenke?
I personally would like to see that the operation, because of the time change we're having, okay? And there's a lot of car washes that I know of through the state of Connecticut, Mass, Rhode Island. They start shutting down as it getting dark. So it could be 5, 6, or whatever. Normal operation, they normally start at 7 o'clock because, people going to work like to go in. So I think on a weekend, it should be limited, like after with the time change. That his hours should be limited to 7 to 5 or 6, whatever, what time it starts. Because who's gonna be pulling in there at 6, 7 o'clock at night to get their car washed? Not me. I'm gonna be on my way home and getting ready to put my head on my father pillow. But a majority of the car washes that I've seen through the state, in 3 states that I've traveled, they're pretty much shut down, especially in the winter. Sometimes they don't even open on late on a Saturday or a Sunday because of the weather. So we should consider that.
So I'm sorry, did you?
Because what happens is, like the one in Southbridge, when you go through the car wash in the middle of the winter or anytime during the winter, they divert you back onto their property and they want you to make a complete turnaround. So you're not taking any of that water out onto the main drag. That would be considered a safety issue. I think Southbridge, I'm not 110% sure on it, but I
So-
think that was one of the requests.
So Mr. Lenke, I just didn't, did you have a suggestion for the? hours?
My suggestion is that for Saturday and Sunday, I would go with 8 to 5.
And
I
Monday
think
through
that would be
Friday?
appropriate
8 to 8?
because then it gives, because who on Saturday night, most of the time people are going out to eat or something. I'm just throwing that into the wind. Is it gonna be that popular in the beginning? Yes, but eventually over time, it'll decrease.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lenke.
You have Charlene with her hand up online.
Okay, great. Ms. Halsey and then Ms. Langlois. After Ms. Langlois. Go ahead, Ms. Halsey.
Well, what you say, yeah, the time changes from light to dark. Yeah, that makes a difference. I have frequented car washes. I haven't been to 3 states through all the car washes, but the car washes that I go to are not in residential areas. So that, again, that is my concern because this is being moved into an area where it's residential. The other places are in business zones, more or less, with not filled with houses and homes. So again, I do believe that Saturday and Sunday time should be 9 o'clock starting.
Thank you, Ms. Halsey. Ms. Langlois?
I just have I'm just concerned about both parties, the person that's on Plum Road and then the business. I mean, if we're going to adjust the time because of daylight savings, I don't know what business comes in and you say, oh, you can be opened, but during daylight savings, you need to shut down early. But when it's lighter, you can stay open later. We're trying to set a precedence for businesses in the town because I know I had said in the beginning that I don't know how much more taxes that everyone in Thompson can pay, and I keep hearing, well, they're going to go to Putnam or they're going to go there because the taxes are fewer. So to stop, to put all these things on these businesses, that's kind of biting our nose off to spite our face. Who's going to be able to live in Thompson and pay 10 grand a year for taxes? And we had a car wash in the town of Thompson, right across the street from Dunkin' Donuts, and it was there for years. So, I mean, you know, you're telling Mr. Patel that he can have a car wash, but he has to run it, you know, if we run it 8 to, or 9 to 7 on a Saturday, then let him open 7 o'clock Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. till he wants to close at 8, and then restrict him on Saturdays and Sundays. But I mean, I feel like we don't really want businesses in Thompson. We just all want to pay thousands and thousands of dollars in taxes.
Thank you, Ms. Langway.
Excuse me for a
Mr.
minute. Can that get louder? Because I don't know if you guys can hear it over here,
No, it's
but
hard.
I can't hear it.
Mr. Krogel.
Bringing up the Southbridge Car Wash, I believe the hours there are from 10 to 6. But I believe Mr. Patel should have set hours, not whether it's daylight or daytime darkness. Because it's much easier to understand set hours for anyone who wants to go to a business, or go into a business, I should say. I would like to see reduced hours on the weekend. During the week, no, I think 8 to 7 is a fair time. I don't know too many people that go wash their cars after 7 o'clock at night, but you know, if you want to stay open till 8, I understand that too. But definitely reducing the hours on the weekend.
Charlene, is that your hand up again, or is that still from before?
Oops, that's from before, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, it sounded like most people who spoke were in favor of an 8 to 8 Monday through Friday, 9 to 7 Saturday and Sunday. Can I accept that as the consensus of this commission for to put as a condition? Is there any objection to that that you would like to vote on? 8 to 8 Monday through Friday, 9 to 7 Saturday and Sunday. Couldn't agree to that.
Yep. 9 to 7 on Saturday and Sunday.
That's what he said.
Yep, I'm just taking it in. I think, I
I
think
can tell
7
you-
o'clock is not, it should be earlier.
I can tell you, driving the transit bus on the weekends, there ain't no traffic before 9 o'clock. I live it.
So, so that is one of the conditions that will be added on as we vote on action on this. Mr. Santos.
I have a few more.
Just a second. Cindy, did you have a question on that one?
No, I just wanted to say, don't forget, earlier you discussed, Janet discussed having or someone discussed having a sign in case of
Yeah,
emergency.
sure. Yeah, okay, thank you.
And I
Mr.
know-
Santos.
I know some of these things are identified on the current plan, but in case Mr. Patel does sell in the future, want to make sure things are limited or at least discussed or reminded about again in the future, right? So I just want to go on the record with full screening. I believe that's the west side, or is that the south side? Full screening on the south side, 6-foot fence as a condition.
East.
It's either west or south.
So,
South.
Okay.
South.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
south.
Oh, I see.
Between the
You're not
car wash
looking
and the
this
housing
way.
complex.
Okay, it's south.
Full screening on the south side, 6-foot fence, maximum of 2 vacuum stations. And I want to say something about the structure itself. Size of structure is limited to what is proposed. Just in case down the future the deal does sell it, that those things come back up again, very specifically.
Okay, so Mr. Santos has proposed 3 conditions to be added to the approval. The 6-foot screening fence on the south side of the property, no more than 2 vacuums, and the size of the car wash structure as proposed. Any discussion? Objection to any of those conditions? Okay, hearing none, those will be added. Mr. Poplawski, did you want to include?
Oh, yeah. A contact person posted clearly.
Any discussion on that condition or objection to that condition? Okay, hearing none, will be added. Any further proposed conditions? Mr. Krogel?
Yeah, again, discussing some kind of noise reducing greenery or shrubbery or something that might help reduce the noise somewhere.
On the frontage there?
Somewhere even near the car wash. I mean, that, you know. That's what was that?
He gave me mine back.
You know, you get the car wash and then. Yeah, we have the infiltration planning and everything else. What's that gonna be made of, Janet, for the infiltration? What's gonna be down there? Stone and grass or?
And bioretention soil, which is a mixture of topsoil, compost, and sand, underlying to infiltrate water and landscape. So that will be landscape, but that's at the rear, so it's like, it's not really for screening because the river is there.
That's what I'm saying here. I'm talking about in front of the building. Right, where, it would even be in front of the vacuums.
The planting bed, though. This is on, I think, Mike, I think you can see it on page
I see
Are you
Riverside
referring
Drive,
to
it's
the
all right here.
center?
four,
Oh,
page
wait, 1
4.
minute. Yes,
Are you referring to the center
I
stormwater
am.
infiltration area? That's
Yes.
going to be crushed stone. It's not really wide enough to have
okay, so where,
screening
so where
vegetation.
the proposed, the other 3 vacuums would have been? Yes,
Here, along the frontage.
that's where the vacuum.
This is where they were
Oh, so-
last
okay,
month,
so-
and then they were
So where the pink
moved.
is there. And even if we did like 3 or 4 feet in front of that, is there something that could be done with that to,
Yeah.
even 5 foot maximum?
There'll be about 5 feet between the edge of the pavement and the 6-foot vinyl fence. So there's going to be about, 5 feet of room.
Just to stop the noise from vibrating off the car wash.
Are you thinking like evergreens or something? It's not a very big space. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not.
Some evergreens,
In-
it's further back, so it won't block the traffic, something that could grow and stop the noise from coming away from the building or the vacuum.
I mean, I think if something was slow growing so that it was like a dwarf species and wouldn't get much wider than 5 feet, there could be 20 feet of them or something. I mean, actually, when you get down here.
Well, I'm
actually,
thinking
a little bit more-
perpendicular, like parallel with the road,
Well,
going out.
Well,
Fine.
parallel with the road when vehicles are
No,
sitting
no,
here.
I'm
and they
talking
want
about where the vacuums are,
to- Okay,
but parallel with the road coming out.
So just below, just to the
Yeah,
roadside
Below
of
the
that.
pink,
Right
Okay.
here.
yep,
Yeah, right there.
yep.
okay, but this is a parking
Mm-hmm.
lot, so it can't go perpendicular, but it could go straight down, which might help for an angle on Plum Road, like along the rest of this frontage. Is that,
Well, that would help.
okay? Then I would say, yeah, that's available. That's like probably 50 or 60 feet parallel, like beyond the fence, like a continuation of the fence towards the road.
That's, can you just continue the fence
Yeah,
rather than have to plant and prune and?
you can take the
Keep
fence
it.
out farther.
I'd be thinking like a hemlock or something that.
Yeah, either could be done, I think,
Yeah.
whatever the commission.
I'd be fine, something just to be a little bit more of a barrier. Thank you, sir. So that's my proposal, putting some kind of tree or noise barrier by the vacuums.
Okay, so the sixth condition, see that mental math right there, would be to either extend the 6 foot tall
Yeah, but
vinyl
if
fencing.
if we continue the fence, that's not gonna stop the noise from going across the street.
Okay, so so the sixth condition then would be to add vegetative growth to reduce noise. So that would be, I guess,
Even if it's 5 feet, I mean, 5 feet is 5 feet. but it's
that's
tough
the
to-
east end of the
Add
of the
vegetative
vacuums.
What? I heard growth.
Growth.
Grow.
Growth.
Whoa, I heard
Plant some vegetation.
Trees legal now.
Evergreens.
Potentially evergreens or some sort of
Row
dwarf.
of how many feet? Approximately, or
I think we said approximately, I think it
5 feet.
was about 5 feet wide, right? We had, and about 50 feet of length.
Yes.
Yeah, that could either be 2 arborvitaes or 1 hemlock or whatever. Eventually it'll take up the space.
That it comes east of the vacuums towards the road. Right.
now we're east,
And right on the property line.
Going east.
going east.
Yeah.
No, go.
There you go. East. Yeah, east is this way.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
So east of what? East of the vacuum.
The vacuums. So
Okay.
between the vacuums and Riverside Drive. Okay, any,
Almost forgot.
did you leave your windows open?
No, it did not.
Is that rain?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the clouds coming in. The weather said.
I hope you left your window.
Any
No,
other
I drove
conditions?
yours down.
Okay, is there any, are there any further conditions to be added? Okay, so hearing none, the motion is to approve application 22-26 with the 6 conditions that were added, including, Cindy, can you read them back? Because my memory is not as good as it
First
should
one,
be.
hours of operation, Monday to Friday, 8 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 7. 6-foot full screening fence. I'm gonna read it from here. A solid 6-foot vinyl fence along, I said southern property line.
That's right.
Okay. We reduced it from 5 to 2 vacuums. The size of car wash structure is to remain as is in the current plan, revised plan. A sign is to be posted for contact information in the event of emergencies. And noise reduction, add vegetation, add a vegetative row east of the vacuum. And Riverside Drive, 5 feet wide and 50 feet in length. Does
Yeah.
that sound like
Between the vacuum and Riverside Drive.
between the vacuum and Riverside Drive? Okay.
Thank you, Cindy.
I have one question. I have 3. All that water in the car wash, that's all gonna be recyclable and everything else, or what's gonna be happening with the water?
There is good, most of the proprietary systems all have a recycling component so that they don't have as high of a water bill. So usually, but after recycling, I think we talked about it last month, it's roughly about 40 gallons per car. Oops, something right here. I'm sorry, Zoom audience. So it's usually like 20% recycled from all the literature that I've read. They have filtration and reverse osmosis, so they can have a spot-free rinse.
So the motion is to approve with 6 conditions. A yes vote approves with conditions. A no vote recommends some other action. Mr. Black.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
John Delaney, no.
Dave Poplawski, yes.
Brian Santos, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Jane Salsa, yes.
Mike Kruger, no.
Charlene,
Calvin Hill, yes.
Go ahead, Charlene.
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Joseph Peretti Brown, yes. So it is a vote of 8 to 2. The application is approved. Item 5, citizens' comments. This is for both available to those in the audience and those on Zoom as well. See none in the room. Is,
If you are in the Zoom audience and you wish to comment, try to use the raise hand function. If you can't do that, you can just unmute yourself and state your name and address.
Okay, hearing none. And again, seeing none in the room. Item 6, application 22-34, application of Town of Thompson Planning and Zoning Commission, 815 Riverside Drive, annual update to Town of Thompson zoning regulations for 2000. I don't even know which year that was supposed to be. It was for 2022. Proposed amendments are attached. This will need to go to a public hearing. Does anyone care to take action on this application, which needs a special hearing, a public hearing? I don't know why I keep saying special hearing, a public hearing next month.
So motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Santos moves to accept application 22-34 for public hearing at the October regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is on.
Mr. Chairman, we had actually discussed doing that outside the regular meeting.
So actually scheduling a special meeting for it.
Yeah, and I was actually just looking at my calendar under the previous item. We had also proposed, and I think we should stick to having an informal Q&A because we know that people have questions, but the public
Mhm.
hearing isn't really the forum for questions.
Right.
So based on that and the requirements of how much time you need, I am going to propose that we schedule the informal Q&A for Thursday, the 13th of October, with a subsequent public hearing of the Thursday, the 20th of October. So it is a little ahead of the regular meeting. But given public interest in the topic, I think you would do well to separate it out.
I need to check the calendar on those dates.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was the second date? I got the
The
October
20th.
13th.
The 13th and the 20th.
Couple days before our next meeting. And the question and answer one would be on the 13th.
Right, so we would do that ahead of the public hearing. Again, because in the forum of a public hearing, it's not supposed to be a Q&A. It's supposed to be, we hear the comments and concerns of the public. And in fact, it's actually inappropriate to have a back and forth answer thing, but that doesn't mean that we don't have other means to answer questions.
Is it appropriate according to state statutes because of?
We've done it before.
To have a Q&A?
Yep, we've done it before. What
Uh,
can't happen is the commission can't be there to answer any questions. Joe as chair can be there, but unlike in this forum where we would direct questions to the chair, the questions would actually be directed to you and me as staff.
Okay. Okay, I know, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on October 20th, we would be doing what?
We would be
public
having
hearing.
a special meeting to hold a public hearing on application 22-34.
Having a special meeting to approve a public
No,
hearing.
to hold the public hearing. We would schedule, if it is the desire of this commission to do so, we would schedule right now, application 22-34 for a public hearing on October 20th.
But not the vote to approve or.
Well, that would have, any action on the application would occur after the public hearing.
On another date.
It could, I mean, just like we do,
Could be on
I
the
think we should do it at a public meeting here.
just like we do with, right, like we did today. We had a public hearing, we discussed action, and we decided to act, right?
Could do it. In other words, what you're saying is October 20th, we could go right through it, and then the meeting right after, which would be the regular meeting of the month, we could actually vote on it. to put it, to finalize.
I think the idea was that we wanted to take time on this application, that we did not
Yeah.
want it in an evening where we have crowded agendas, right? Because
Right.
it deserves its time.
But that's what the Q and A is for, and then it comes into the special meeting.
Well, again, I think a lot of people are going to want to share their opinions in a
Yeah.
public hearing.
Again,
Yeah.
These are going to be Zoom meetings.
No, they would, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a meeting here in the,
We haven't established whether it would be online, hybrid, live in person. I would suggest that a hybrid format is the most support
as we were doing
I think
tonight.
hybrid is, you know,
Hybrid's what
online
we're
and-
doing
Yeah,
right
as we're
now.
doing right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I want to
Mhm.
see.
Can I stop here for a minute? So you're gonna have your public hearing on the 20th.
Yes.
Yes.
So what if you want to extend that public hearing? Because I asked that question, our agendas, Gloria and I, we do our work from the 17th to the 19th
Yeah, I would
to
argue,
get it prepared for your
yeah,
regular meeting.
again, Cindy, I think if we were making a decision to continue the public hearing, we would do it again to a special meeting.
Oh, okay.
Right. I think the idea is to have this on a night of its own.
Separate.
Right.
Okay.
And ideally, you won't need to continue either, which, I mean, hopefully that Q and A will resolve the questions so that during the public hearing, the comments are made either based on people who have come to the Q and A to have their questions answered and then still have concerns, or people who weren't available to come. But by that point, you should be able to dedicate an hour or 2 hours, whatever it needs, to just the topic, resolve, the public hearing portion, and then make the vote.
Okay.
So as moved, application 2234 will be accepted for a public hearing at a special meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to be held on Thursday, October 20th at 7 PM here in the Merrill Cine Community Room and via Zoom. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, a yes will accept for public hearing, a no will not. Mr. Hill.
Melvin Hill, yes.
Mike Vogel, yes.
Jane Salsa, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Ryan Santos, yes.
Dave Paplosky, yes.
John B. Lindsay, yes.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Charlie
Ms. Lang.
Langlois, yes.
Joseph Perotti Brown, yes. Thank you. Item 22 I'm sorry, item 6B, PZ, Planning and Zoning Commission, application 22-36, applicant Kaiser Levac, 260 Quadic Hill Road, Fort Hill Farms property owner, estate of Peter M. Orr and Kristen L. Orr, map 124, block 32, lot 27, zone RRAD, request permit with commission site plan review to construct a 46,000 square foot robotic milking barn, access road, septic system, utilities and grading according to zoning regulations, Article 4A, Section 2, agricultural
You can go
lifestyle.
sit in my office and shut the door. if you want to. Okay.
Yeah, so just for the record, applicant Kaiser Levac stepped out of the room as she is an alternate member of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Good evening. I'm Janet Blanchett from J&D Civil Engineers, representing Fort Hill Farms. Since Kaiser Levesque left the room, but Jared Levesque is here as like the owner operator of the proposed robotic milking barn. So he should be able to answer questions that the commission might have on like the operation of the actual barn. So the reason why we're here, this is it's an agricultural use in the RRAD zone, but it does involve livestock. And so it requires a site plan review. I think everybody probably is familiar with Fort Hill Farms, mostly like the public front of it off of Quadic Road, but it's quite a large property. It's about 300 acres in size. So I'll spend a little bit more time orienting everyone on the vicinity map. You can understand where the barn is to be constructed. So So here's Quadic Road, and then there's O'Leary Road that runs on the east side of the property, north to south. So the the proposed location is almost centered in the property, but the access will be off of O'Leary Road. And the property is so big, you can see the orange lines is the property lines, and the rest of it goes well beyond. It's the cornfields and everything essentially. And you can't really see what goes on in here, but I think most people are aware of the manure digesting facility that was constructed a few years ago. So the access road that goes from O'Leary Road, it wraps around this existing manure digesting facility operation. And then, so the access road to the new barn would kind of go through that. So this is going to put, a new modern milking barn with the manure right near the manure digesting electricity producing plant. So it makes a lot of sense. It really, so, and on this site, the north is going up. So now I'll turn to look at some more details. It's quite a large structure. It's about 330.
Oh, yeah, can you just straighten it out? a little
Straighten it
bit?
out a little, yeah, thank you. I'm looking at it
Sorry, Jen.
angled.
I'm sorry,
tilted.
it is.
It's a tight, yeah, it's a tight.
Yes,
Is that better?
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So I don't want to confuse everybody, but north is now going to the right. Because that's the orientation that the barn is going. So to fit it properly
work on
on the
that,
site. So O'Leary Road is completely off this sheet. It would be way down below the plan. Quadic Road would be way off to the left-hand side because the property is so large. So, and here's the digesting facility, electricity producing facility. So essentially it's going to be a robotic milking barn with an access driveway, truck turning areas on either side. It is a sloped site, so there's quite a bit of earthwork, but an extremely small septic system. It's only for 6 employees, so it's less than the size of a single family house. There was a lot of low impact development features considered in the design, reducing impervious area and using stormwater vegetated swales to help trap sediment that might come off the cornfields or gravel from the driveways. So on the uphill side, there's drainage swales that go around the site, drainage swales north of the building and along the access drive. Those will be directed to a stormwater basin at the toe of the slope that'll have a permanent standing pool or some ponded water that again will help settle out any type of sediment. There will be building mounted security lights, but no freestanding lights like in the parking or anything. And this site is really not, can't be seen from a public road. One important zoning feature is that if you have livestock, you have to have a setback of more than 150 feet for a barn. This is the only place the property line even shows up. The pink is the 150 feet setback, and you can see the building is even considerably further from the property line than 150 feet. The septic system did get approved and wetlands aren't applicable. We have a memo from the wetlands agent that this use is not regulated because the wetlands aren't nearby and it is agricultural use. The owners are hoping with this time of year that you will have enough information to act in the application this evening because they do have a site contractor lined up and they're hoping to get going and pour some concrete before the cold weather hits. It does meet all your zoning regulations. But I'm available to answer any questions and so is Sharon.
Mr. Lanky.
I don't have any questions. All I'm gonna say is I'm gonna make the motion that we accept the application 2236.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made by Mr. Lanky, seconded by Mr. Williams to approve application 22-36. Any discussion?
No, that's fine. I just think that I've been to the site. And that they're making a major investment. They're way back where nobody can even see them unless you know they're there. And I think Brian may be the only one here that can understand all the pages we had in the packet.
Yeah.
I do want to
And I bet
commend
he can't-
JD.
I bet he can't understand all of them, but I know well, actually, some of the numbers are too small for read too. But, I mean, I think there's overkill on the paperwork, but I think it would be
I did
a
have
real
one
asset for the
question.
town.
Did the water, from reading this, it looked like the water actually penetration because of the standing barn and what it was gonna do. It looked like the water was going to carry into the soil even better than if the barn wasn't there. Did I,
The peak runoff rate is slightly reduced because I can anticipate that they'll lose a little bit of storage volume until they maintain it for a couple 5 years. And I know stormwater calculations are required. This is a structure that's very large, like an industrial structure. So you can't just hope that.
yeah,
That's the area, what you're talking about, Jen, that's the area that's pretty close to the, I can't even say the name now, but the thing that's making power.
The digester?
Digest.
Yes, it's right
Because
here.
you do have that area where there is like a pond where
They designed one is kind of similar to what's
Correct.
proposed here, when they did all the earthwork
Right.
required for the construction of this
So there's a-
storage structure, they also.
so there's a possibility that they could tie some of that into that if they needed.
Well,
Down, if it needed.
I guess.
That's what I was.
Mr.
I'm
Santos,
just curious, is it the circular robotic?
No.
Cows jump up on there? No, it's not a rotary.
Already walking
Brian, if you
in.
want to see that, there's one right over the hill on Flash Road. You go
Yep.
down the hill and the farm on the right, they've got robotic milkers in there.
Yo,
Really? Yeah. Oh, nice.
what the hell's the name
Okay.
of that?
Todd Moore.
any further
Hibbett, on Hibbett Road.
discussion of the motion to approve? Okay, hearing none, a yes vote will approve application 22-36, a no vote will not approve. Mr. Blackmer,
Randy Blackmore, yes.
John B. Linky, yes.
Dave Paplosky, yes.
Brian Santos, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Jane Saucy, yes.
Mike Kruger, yes.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Ms. Langlois,
Charlene Langlois, yes.
and Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Motion is approved unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Black. Item 20, or application 22-41, applicant James Gould, 357 Riverside Drive. Property owner Esposito Irrevocable Trust, Neil E. and Carol M. Esposito, map 85, block 85. I, lot 6, zone PCCD, requesting site plan approval to operate a retail craft store according to zoning regulations, Article 4E, zone TCD, section 2, number 18. Good evening.
Hi, James Gould, 357 Riverside Drive.
Moorfield.
Mark Kirkby?
I said in my memo, I was going to have pictures because the printer wasn't working. The printer was working and I came in at 20 to 7 and I started printing the pictures. And I only one picture came through. It's still printed. It's printed. Let me get that one picture. Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to compare what the picture in the front is very, very good. This picture right here is where utility pole is, it's on the side of the property. And this one is the back where you can see that incline. There's a slight incline in the back there. Let me go see, while he's explaining, let me go see if that other picture is gonna come through.
Can you just toss those around?
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead and describe a little bit of.
Basically, what we're gonna do, homemade wooden crafts and retail baskets.
Like gift baskets, coffee mugs, shirts.
Hats.
We do a lot of stuff here, like online and stuff now. Try to have a small. Something, you know, where.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms.
Will
Nelson,
it be
sorry.
like a shop open to the public, or is it just?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like a small shop
Okay.
open to the public.
You want to explain? Really, I'm sorry,
Go
you
ahead.
can't really tell by the picture, but we're the parking
That's
and
what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, that's the picture I want
Oh,
printing. but-
okay, all
But
right.
you got that diagram,
Yeah.
and the parking is going to be 3 here before the entrance, which would be alternate parking, and 3 on this side.
Yeah,
And
on
one
the far
handicap.
side, we're gonna level it out all the way to the wall and regrade the whole front of it. There's a drainage in the front, we'll have a little roundabout, like with a flower garden, you know, all done up nicely, protect that. We wanna funnel the traffic in one way, so this way we don't have people backing on the road, knowing that would be one of the major concerns. So that's the agenda on the parking and stuff. And, you know, being a craft store, we can't foresee having, 25 cars in our parking lot at any given time, to be honest with you.
Cindy, is there a curb cut there or anything? Is that? curbing at all?
No,
Storm
there
drain?
There's one little piece of
Little
curbing,
piece,
like
yeah.
right where the storm drain is,
Yeah.
but it's kind of, it's sad. It's.
Both sides are open.
That's a state road.
Yeah.
So state curb.
Yeah. And what I suggested, and I don't know if it shows on one of those pictures, but you know, the structure is actually a trailer and it has extensions on it. And so what I suggest, they put a vinyl fence or a wood fence right on this, as you're facing the trailer on the right side, to
Yeah.
hide
to
the
one
plumbing and
house
stuff like that.
You know, that borders the property.
Yeah, they got a
Property
partial
next to-
fence there right
Yeah,
now.
that,
so-
yeah,
Yeah,
that fence
Yeah,
is,
we were just gonna finish fencing
Going
off.
east.
down
we have
towards
spoke to
the
the
road.
owner, so.
Yeah,
they started remodeling the inside. It's beautiful.
anything's gonna, I should.
Yeah. No, actually, I never saw the inside of it before,
Sometimes.
It was horrible.
Almost.
but I went in and
Anything
it's
would
like,
make that place look better, I agree.
they have actually natural wood on some of the walls and they painted some of the other walls. And of course, because I watch DIY, I suggested that they should paint the cabinets because
Yeah.
the cabinets.
I suggested that also.
And she agreed with me.
When would you hope to be open for business?
We're looking like for October 3rd to October 10th, somewhere around there. Because we don't want to go advertise and then come here and have them say no, so,
Sure. But you don't want to miss the holiday.
yeah.
period.
But they are bringing that crushed stone for the
Trash.
Yeah. We're gonna regrade the front, first,
So if you're going towards the
make
end,
the parking lot nice. I mean, if anything, there's a lilac bush out in front, we'll pull a lilac bush, just to guarantee that we have that appropriate parking spaces.
See if that picture came through. Sorry.
Are there any questions this time? Yeah. For you mostly, are there any questions from the commission? So Cindy, you've been out, I mean, I know the pictures are having a hard time. We're having a hard time with the pictures, I should say.
This is the one I wanted you to see, was the front and how they're going to do. So you can pass my. All you know how to use phone.
Yeah. Cindy, can you email that to me and then I can pull it up on the screen? If it's too much, don't worry about it. But
I don't think I have planner in my phone, your
Okay,
email
that's
address in the phone.
Cindy, just a question about, because it's a state highway. And if they're gonna manipulate the parking, the entrance, the curb, the drainage, I mean, what,
Impervious surface.
if we put a condition on about
Yes.
state approval.
Yes, and then
you know,
we can work on that.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
yes.
I'm just concerned with how, your layout, I'm not familiar with, I see the drain, I drove by there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the state and what your proposal is. It was very hard to see on your handwritten draft,
We're gonna keep the grade where it is the same, just kind of chop it down so everything is all even going across. So, everything is still going to drain and flow away from the building, basically, as that is supposed to.
Yeah.
What's our max impervious surface area we can allow in this area? Is that in the regulations? Are we talking about impervious surface? Square footages?
Because they weren't doing anything with that, they were just putting crushed stone on it.
Oh,
It's
crushed
gonna
stone.
be
Okay.
loose.
Okay, very good.
So I wasn't concerned about that part.
Okay.
And every spring might get rough and dry. We tend to it, but I mean.
And they are, they certainly have
Yeah,
cleaned up a lot
understood.
of the
I just
front
had,
and it's
I
getting
had
clean.
impervious surface
Yeah,
in my head
yeah.
for whatever reason. That's clearly not correct. Okay. I'm good.
Any other questions for the applicants? Okay. Hearing none.
A motion to approve PZC number 2241.
I'll second the motion.
A motion has been made by Mr. Santos, seconded by Ms. Salsi to approve application 22-41. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
With the condition that we contact the highway department, to make sure there's an exit entrance.
Yes, yeah, and you're, Jane, you're good with that
Yes,
condition?
with that condition, yes, I actually wrote it down, sorry.
Wonderful. Okay, hearing no further discussion, a yes will approve with condition, a no will deny. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Mike Ogle, yes.
Jane Salsi, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Brian Santos, yes. Sorry.
Dave Paplowski, yes.
John B. Linky, yes.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Ms.
Shelley
Owens?
Langlois, yes. Yes.
Thank you. And Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
I'll be in touch with you Wednesday.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, item 7, applications received after agenda posted. I'm seeing nothing from Cindy,
No,
so I
nothing.
imagine we have none.
Sorry.
Item 8, old business, Shelley and Jeff Ashton Briggs, request to amend special condition, vendor acoustics will end at 9:30. This is from application 21-10.
Okay, they built a barn. And so they're not gonna be renting a tent, and there are not any neighbors in that area, so they want to extend their entertainment hours to 11 o'clock. Their band, their musical hours to 11. Acoustic hours. So all you do is need to say yes or no, or yes.
Yeah, so.
Mr. Santos.
So I think the operating hours were limited because of the neighbor across the street. That's something to say about that, correct? Back in, when we approved this?
No,
Sure.
The only
The only
neighbor across
neighbor's
the
the
street is
church.
the
That's the
church.
I know,
church.
No,
but
there were property owners.
That's correct. They came in.
Oh, the
They
old
didn't-
hayfields
they
or
haven't,
something.
they haven't built yet, but they had something to say about the hours of operation.
Only for
I
the
think-
music. That's.
But yeah, it was for, yeah, the music.
But this is supposed to be acoustic, so it's not gonna be like it's amplified.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say, back then it was also a tent.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna
It
say,
was a
wasn't that a
rentable,
tent?
that's what I was gonna conclude with. It was a rentable tent. I just wanted
Right.
everyone to be
Yeah.
reminded that
Right.
the neighbor came in and spoke
Right.
heavily about.
Yeah,
And
that was
they're not
before
going
we
to-
came in.
Yeah, that's
They're not gonna
correct.
rent the tent.
So is it reasonable to put a condition on that if they rent the tent, it's 9:30, if it's in the barn, it's what,
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock,
Sure.
right?
we
And
can
then it's
do
both
that.
covered,
Yeah,
right? If
yeah,
they have
yeah.
too big of a crowd.
So I will amend what I do is I amend the site, the the special permit or whatever the name of the permit is. I don't know if I have it here, but, and just amend that permit. And put the
Vote on it,
amendment
or no?
date.
We need
sure,
a-
yeah.
I'll make a motion that we amend permit. Well, it's not on here.
21-10.
21-10.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Poplawski moves, Mr. Hill seconds, amending special permit 21-10 for, to maintain the 9:30 ending time for outdoor acoustics, but to add that for inside events taking place in the barn, vendor acoustics to end at 11 p.m.
While we're on the address, I have another question that relates to the address, and I thought of it after I did the agenda. When we were discussing the contact of the Briggs's location and the park, US Army Corps, we were discussing that application, particular application for the sand and gravel. It was mentioned during our conversation, your conversations, that those two locations should be notified when the current French River Materials is having a blasting, and to please notify them by letter. Because of time constraints, and I can get around to it now, I can do that letter, but I needed to do it with actual information from the minutes relating to that discussion. So what I'm asking you is just to tell me to send a letter to those two addresses for French River Materials to notify them when they're having blasting. So I have it in writing someplace, because I could not find it. I mean, I could continue to research it, but I just thought it was easier to ask you to do it tonight, to reaffirm what you said.
I'm sure that French River Materials, if you're on the phone list, they call you the day before, and they call you the day of the blast.
Right, but
And
yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna do mail that fast unless you're gonna do it email.
Well, your email, contact them. You specifically said, and if I'm wrong, correct me if you don't remember, you specifically said, oh yeah, by the way, when the current French River Materials has their blasting, please contact make sure that these two addresses are contacted.
But was that for you to do or for them to do?
For me to tell French River Material
So
to do
she
it,
was supposed to tell French River Material to notify them.
to notify them.
Yeah, that was in the conditions of the application.
That is for the particular application. The conversation went into a general, hey, yeah, they're doing it now. Are these people notified?
Oh, yeah. I
So,
do remember that.
Sid is
'cause the Army
asking
Corps
you to
guy
give
said
her
yes and
direction,
no.
not
Yeah,
Ross.
Yeah.
That pertains
Okay.
only to the property that's gonna be mined later.
No,
No.
that
No.
pertains
Okay.
to what's going on in French River Material now.
Yeah, so let's, we do have a motion on the table.
Oh, you didn't vote on that other?
No,
motion?
we did
Yeah,
not. We have a motion on the table to amend the special permit for 21-10. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Mr. Williams?
Should we put on there that they could have it until 11 o'clock with a tent until the people that own the fields build over there? Because they could have 2 years, 3 years where they could be having a later, they're supposed to get 300 people, they got 100 inside, 200 outside in the tent. On a big thing, and there's no house over there for another 2 or 3 years.
I don't think they had the parking for that many. I think it sounded like instead of a tent and having that purchase and rental, and they renovated their barn and they're just gonna use the barn now.
Okay, I'm just thinking, so
something
that
else
we're not
happened.
squeezing them out of,
Yeah.
So they're
basically
basically
just
just going with the barn, they're not gonna, that's.
Yeah, I think the
I've been
tent is going to
watching
be
them move.
moved.
Yeah, they've been doing that.
That's what I read. That's how I.
would just,
took it from
Why
some of
would
these-
you wanna rent a tent and everything, the customer, the people are gonna pay for it when you got a barn?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly, exactly.
That makes
The
sense.
romance.
And at least if they have to use the tent, there's, it's still that stipulation.
That's right.
So they have the ability.
You got a backup plan.
Yeah.
Giving them a backup plan.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt.
Okay, a yes vote will amend the special permit 21-10. A no vote will keep it as written. Mr. Blackmore.
Randy Blackmore, yes.
John B. Lanky, yes.
Dave Pavelski, yes.
Brian Santos, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Jane Salsa, yes.
Mike Kruger, yes.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Ms. Langwell?
Sally Langwell is yes.
Joseph Purdy Brown, yes. Okay.
Did I get to my next?
Yeah, so to your, yes, so the question is, does the commission wish to authorize Cindy to email this
French River.
property,
No.
email French River materials
To notify.
to notify these properties regarding the blast?
You're talking
Two.
the two
Army
people,
Corps and
Briggs,
the Briggs. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
include in there.
Yeah, well, I have all the addresses and stuff. in folder, so.
I think a simple voice vote can do this one. All in favor of so authorizing Cindy, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You are so authorized.
Okay, so now when I write the letter to French River, I can refer to this meeting. Thank you.
Certainly,
Yes.
thank you. Item 9, new business. Scenic Road Ordinance 10-042, Section 4A. So this was forwarded from the First Selectman's office. Current ordinance does not impose a penalty if a scenic road is altered without the approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the question from the First Selectman is, do you wish to impose a penalty or leave it the way it is?
And Mr. Chairman, the first selectman is in the Zoom audience if you need to ask her any questions about this.
Thank you. Ms. Sanaj, is there anything you'd like to present to us or share with us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Haven't been on Zoom in a while. So this is being brought about as a result of the codification process that we're going through. Our ordinances are being reviewed, scrutinized against the Connecticut statutes, any contradiction or things that are questionable, they've brought to us, and this was one of the questions that was brought to me, but I believe that it should fall to planning and zoning, since that ordinance has really comes from this commission. So you can leave it, you can leave the ordinance just as it is, but it was a question from General Code, and that's the company that's doing the codification work for us.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So such a penalty would not, I mean, right, it wouldn't be in the ordinance, right? Because we don't.
That would be in the ordinance.
But do we have the authority to do that?
Ultimately, when the codification process is done, any of the modifications, it all has to go to town meeting.
Okay,
Again,
thank you.
you're welcome.
That's the piece I was
So we're
missing.
making a recommendation.
So it's more advisory, I think, in this
Yeah.
instance.
Gotcha, yeah.
Right.
So I mean, I guess it is a two-part question. Should there be a penalty? I guess it's a three-part question. Should there be a penalty?
Yeah, how much?
What then would the penalty be?
Yeah.
And who then would enforce the
Enforce it.
collection of the penalty?
I'm just gonna say in general, I think there's not enough penalties for certain actions in town. I do not know what the normal rate of penalty would be in this particular case. So I would be looking for someone to make whoever wrote this and asked this question to tell me what the recommendation would be, because all of the ordinances that I've read on this particular topic, when we did discuss this months ago, I don't remember seeing any penalty in any other town ordinance.
Yeah, I don't either, when- especially with some of the ones that you brought up. I
Yeah.
don't remember them.
And I looked at several of them. But I may have overlooked it too, but I don't remember reading it.
Well, example is the ordinance on unregistered vehicles, that is guided by state statutes too. So I could go to the state statute and say $100 fine a day. I think they specify in the state statute what you can find. So I don't know if something like this is in the state statute
Yeah.
too, that they could follow.
Mr. Hill.
Yeah. I mean, how would they improve or do something to a designated scenic road without somebody knowing?
Well, that's the penalty. If they cut a massive maple tree
Or take a
on the
walk.
right of way and didn't get permission and cut it down, but what's the penalty for that? They're not gonna plant a 10-foot round maple tree.
Yeah.
So do you go by the caliper of the tree? Do you go by the stones that would just, I don't know.
Is it a lump sum?
There's a lot of.
I mean, I
Or is
kind of
a-
think I'd like to
Mr.
get some
Chairman.
input as to what the penalty costs would be, because I don't know.
Yeah.
And before I say, yeah, we're gonna put a penalty, I want to know what the general acceptable penalty
How would it
It's
get
good,
to
I'm gonna go
that
to-
point? There would be,
Yeah, I don't
I don't
even, yeah.
understand how would.
All right, well, just, so Tira and then Mr. Williams and then Mr. Hill.
Yeah, if I could make a suggestion in this, because it really is the commission acting in an advisory sense here, and you guys are fundamentally getting this information essentially for the first time here. My recommendation would actually be to, if you want to vote on something, vote to approve the ZEO to research and compare those penalties and make a recommendation to the selectmen, because it really is like this, it's more the selectmen that do the ordinances. I understand why Amy brought it here, because it has to do with zoning issues. But I think it may be more appropriate for staff to do the research, present the appropriate recommendation, but with essentially your mandate to do so.
Yeah, we need more information.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say,
Yeah,
is I think we ought to put this off
Yeah.
until we have a chance to research this a little better and see what other towns do.
Sure.
And just for
I
context,
think
there
we're
are
much better
two,
off to do that than,
Yeah.
there
shoot
are
from the
two
hip on
items
it.
in the annual update that are also based on issues that were brought up by the online code folks. So it's not like holding this
right.
up is gonna hold the whole thing up. These two are also open questions until we have that public hearing.
Yeah.
So,
Is there, did you want to say something else? Is there any objection then to authorizing the zoning enforcement officer to do said research and make said recommendation to the Board of Selectmen? Mr. Santos.
I don't mind that, but just for curiosity for future things when it comes to penalties, are you bringing that information back to us too at the next meeting? Because I want to talk about with other future items as well, not just this one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's-
yeah,
yes.
yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
in-
I believe that's what Jane. and
In your,
us-
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
thank you. Item 10, approval of minutes of the August 22nd, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
August meeting will be approved.
Okay, Mr.
Credit.
Mr. Blackmer has moved, Mr. Krogel has seconded, approving the minutes of the August 22nd, 2022 meeting as printed. Any discussion? Hearing none, a yes vote will approve minutes, a no vote will reject them. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Yes.
Gene Salsa, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Brian Santos, yes.
Dave Peplowski, yes.
John B. Lanky, yes.
Andy Blackmer, yes.
Charlie Leglois, yes.
Joseph Perotti Brown, yes. Item 11, reports of officers and staff, planners reports.
So under my report this week, and Janet is still here as well, as you guys I'm sure remember, we all agreed to employ J&D to help get us over the final threshold on the subdivision regulations rewrite, specifically the rewrite of the road construction standards, which I think we all on some to some degree agree are a hot mess as they are currently configured. And Janet has provided a draft, which you guys have seen by now. So I guess what we want to do is establish an order of action going forward. And, you know, if you've got any questions for Janet as it stands, but I think we're probably at the point where we can schedule a meeting to go over them.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So, you know, and again, if we're going back into my handy dandy analog calendar, old fashioned book style. So we've now got the informal Q&A and the public hearing on the annual regulations update scheduled for October 13th and 20th respectively. The following Monday is the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I think Thursdays are actually challenging for some of the members, including the chairman and Mr. Williams. So looking at my calendar, I could schedule the 26th of October for a subcommittee meeting to discuss that. Does that work for you, Janet?
Yes. So what day of the week is that?
So Wednesday night.
Yes.
Just think about the 26th for right now, Gloria.
Works for me.
Okay, I'm going to write that in. I mean, while Janet is here, does anybody have any questions on what she's presented so far?
Do you need a motion to pay this invoice?
I don't think we need a motion because you've already previously approved it. I just, since John's not here to give the treasurer's report,
Brian's got
I
it.
was.
One second.
Brian's all over it, that's right. I was going to point out that we have received our first invoice. Now, this commission has in its budget only a portion of the total bill, but I'm going to go ahead and pay that 1,000 that you've already agreed on. We are going to have to discuss, and I'll discuss that with John later, I guess, you know, what the strategy is for the rest. We always knew there was going to be an issue there.
Right.
So
That's the printing and publication.
it's, yeah, that sounds right.
Any questions for Ms. Blanchett about her work so far?
Mr. Chairman, is that a motion to pay this bill?
No motion was necessary because that's already been authorized.
So the time frame on that meeting will again be 7 to 9 as we've done
Yes.
for the subcommittee
Yeah,
meetings.
and that will be a Zoom meeting.
And that'll be a Zoomer.
7 and 9, you better make it to 10.
Well,
We scheduled tonight, we might get out by 10.
that's right.
Yes.
I actually make the links good for 4 hours,
Why don't we do
so.
these things in person? Zoom is so. ugh.
I hear you.
Thank you.
Works for me.
Yeah, I think it's Zoom time is over, guys, but whatever. And girls.
Hybrid, hybrid coming, hybrid.
Let's get back to teasing each other in person.
Is that what you call it, Cindy? Cheating? Yeah, to moderate.
Item 11B, ZEO memo.
Okay.
Make it quick.
The enclosed inquiry came from the building office, which is what I attached this right here. As you can see, the property owner is advertising on Hip Camp site his campground for rent. It's gotten a lot of favorable responses because I have the rest of the page, so I just gave you the front. Due to the Planning and Zoning Commission members disagreeing with my interpretation concerning the recent violation of the Airbnb on Brandy Hill Road, I am bringing this to you for discussion on the appropriate action required in reference to our past and our current zoning regulations. And I attached the regulations. The 2012 states campground R40 was a special permit with 10 acres and more. Our amended regulation requires the same procedure. I attached the campground definition to this report. I checked the zoning office files to see if a permit was granted or a variance was granted. No record of either. I also checked the building office to see if Northeast District Department of Health approved the site for a campground, and there was nothing there. Looking for your opinion, if I should proceed with contacting Northeast District Department of Health for compliance under their restrictions and/or follow up with a violation notice from here. So what is your pleasure?
I'd like to know how many tent sites they have there, and is it, I've been living not too far from there for a long time. I never knew there was a campground over there.
Okay. And you expect me to find that answer how?
Book a
yeah.
rental and head on out there. You're a camper, right, Cindy?
Well, the name of this, the family here, there's an Olson family that's been on Quartertown Farm Road for years. And I know my daughter went to school with the Olson girls and they camped out in them woods for years. So is it just a campsite that these people are camping on?
Well, it looks like.
You know what I mean? That's what it seems like to me. It's,
I think your daughter started.
you never know. You know the way she is.
Well, I mean, how much of the information? I think I gave you the front page.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so
Yeah,
it
I think it's a
explains
single tent site is what they're renting.
a single tent site. Let's see, what is the complaint said? I received a complaint last summer regarding campground, blah, blah, blah. Located on property. And I could never find any evidence of such until now, and she saw the evidence, so.
I mean, is there a bunch of? Yeah, what is it? I mean, literally, is it just one campsite or is it a bunch of them or?
The Olson Woodlot Camping. Explore the camping experience at the Olson Woodlot. User reviews and campsite photos appear alongside amenities. And
They're charging them for.
They are, yeah, they're
No,
charging
40 bucks a night.
40 bucks a night.
Yeah.
Tent site near Aquatic Pond State Park.
Yeah.
Where there are hiking trails, boat launches.
and there's all the referrals.
And this, I mean, it's their property, their land and
And they're unregistered business.
and they're
First
an
of all,
unregistered
it's
business.
Just tent sites, with little time to work on this, won't be camping out much longer.
Well, I understand, so I have a year to work on it. Well, I have 6
No,
months.
6 months.
That's how long
Oh,
it
you
takes
don't
to
go
do
camping in
anything.
the winter?
What?
You don't camp in the winter?
Absolutely not. Last time I camped when I was a little girl in France, so with my daddy and family.
So, yeah, so what
I think
is?
Cindy should explore it more.
Explore.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
you
explore
want
it,
me to
yeah.
explore and then come back.
Yep.
I
Okay.
even got a tent at the house you can use too.
Yeah.
Anything else from your memo you wanted to draw our attention to?
Nope,
Cindy?
that's it. I'm finished.
Item 11C, we will let Mr. Santos off the hook and forego the town of Thompson budget report this evening.
He's making a donation.
Item 12, correspondence. We received the minutes of the zoning board of appeals from September 12th.
We had a meeting last night.
Congratulations. So we received those minutes and we received a NECOG notice from the town of Woodstock. Planning and Zoning Commission. Any questions on those? Item 13, signing of Mylars, and we've got a couple on the docket.
You actually have an extra one too. I believe it's Fabian Woodstock Road, Eddie property. He brought in a Mylar and that the farm store. Remember the farm store?
Yes.
Yes.
He brought in a Mylar for it.
Cindy, any concerns or?
No, I checked them out. I called Janet on one question I had on one. She answered my question and I was satisfied with my Mylars.
I move we approve the chair signing all 5 Mylars.
I'll second it.
Mr. Blackmore has moved to authorize the chair to sign the 5 Mylars in the CEO's office. Mr. Lenke seconded. Any discussion? Did you have something to add, Cindy?
No, I just want to tell Gloria, the fifth Mylar is the Eddy Farm, Fabian Woodstock Road.
And we'll get you that application number.
Yeah, I'll get you the application.
Yeah,
number.
New Boston Beat.
I don't know it, Jeff.
We'll get you that number. Hearing no further discussion, a yes authorizes the chair to sign, a no does not. Mr. Blackmore.
Randy Blackmore, yes.
Yes.
Dave Paulski, yes.
Mike Santos, yes.
Ray Williams, yes. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear.
Jane Saucy, yes.
Mike Ridley, yes.
Alvin Hill, yeah.
Charlie Leglois, yes.
Just heard them, yes. Item 14, ZBA review.
I don't know what that is on there twice
It's,
for.
well, so we get the minutes as a correspondence.
Right.
But then
Oh,
we
we
get the
would talk about it. Oh,
decisions,
okay.
yeah, if there's any questions or concerns about the decision.
In fact, wasn't that something that you added back into the?
It was something
agenda?
that had been on, that was in our bylaws, that was in the agenda,
Oh.
that we hadn't been doing.
Oh, okay.
So we are now.
That's interesting, because at the ZBA meeting, because they hadn't had one for so many months, they asked Gloria and me to put together your minutes and all their correspondence during that month and send it to them monthly, and I thought that was a good idea.
Okay, item 15, citizens' comments. And again, anyone here in the room or on Zoom?
Evening, Mr. Chairman, Bill Warner, Lowell Davis Road. I have a question as why you would have question and answers on your changes without the commissioners being there, because you're voting on the changes. If we have any questions or concerns about them, you wouldn't be able to hear them. And the board, we wouldn't even be able to ask the board why they chose to go that certain way. So it doesn't make sense to just have a question and answer with just staff. Then as far as the scenic road ordinance, I don't know why this board would okay the CEO to do the research and then make recommendations to the first selectman without you guys voting on it first, which you just did. And the second thing is, as far as penalties on a road, I'm on a scenic road. Anything, the stone walls and the trees out in front of my house are on my side of the property line. It's not on town property, so I can do what I want with that. Anyone's gonna do anything on that road as far as paving that, that's the town, and how you gonna penalize the town. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warner.
Valerie's got her hand up in the Zoom audience.
Ms. Clark?
Valerie Clark, 105 Elm Road. And I just want
I'm sorry, Ms.
Valerie,
Clark.
can you speak up just a little bit? You sound very distant.
I'll do my best. Can you hear me now?
Nope,
It's better.
no, can't hear her over here.
I don't know why she's not coming through that speaker.
Shall I type my comment into the chat?
That's actually much better, Valerie.
I can hear her.
Yeah, we can hear her now.
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes.
I want to comment regarding the comments about the Zoom sessions. These sessions are very valuable to members of the public. And I recommend you continue to hold hybrid and Zoom only sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Any other comments here in the room or on the Zoom? Okay. Hearing none, item 16, commissioners' comments. Now you guys are just freaking me out.
John B. Lanky.
Mr. Lanky.
Yes, I just want to bring it up that we need to look into and it's gonna be coming to a head, I guess, somewhere down the line. We need to look into this paintball thing that's been going on. We had a cease and desist order put against them. They did dissolve the so-called LLC. And they were supposed to still, and they weren't supposed to do any paintball type of activity. You're still doing it. I have since last year, I got my certain part of my phone that's just filled with every weekend, what time the cars show up, what time they leave, how many cars are there, da, da, da. This has been going on. And I was someplace and somebody come up to me and they said they were talking to this person that owns the property. And they thought it was very comical that we have, nothing is done and they're getting away with it. And they're gonna keep on doing it. So let's start thinking, we're hearing so much from the citizens about neighbors, what's best for the town. Okay, what are we gonna do about this? This is starting to become a nuisance to the people in that area. And I got it here, I'll give it to our CEO, she can download it, whatever, all the days and times and everything. But we need to, if we're gonna try to fix all this other damn stuff that's been going on, this is something that we need to really set into and get fixed.
So how do we go about, if you cease and disorder has already been put forward and they're still ignoring it, what's the next step?
That's the-
Well, you find them.
Yeah, well, that's where I was gonna go with the
That's
penalties.
what we
right?
gotta do is how do
Okay.
we need to know exactly what we're gonna do.
Careful with when you hit
Oh,
the microphone.
Take the mic and throw it over.
Well, I think the cease and desist was lifted. We don't have to get into this right now because they said it was not a business. Right,
Not
the
a
cease and
business.
desist was to
Well, I-
stop operating as a business, right? So there's something to be discussed there. I will say this, I live on that street. I walk on that street and there's paintball splatter everywhere on that street.
And also I got a picture sent to me that I'm not gonna pull it up now, but the date and everything, where a pickup truck delivered a pallet of paintballs. Okay, right there, plain sight. And the other thing they did was they put a fence up on Fabian Road. I don't know if they came in for a permit.
Well, they don't have to if it's under 7.
No, but what about the sight line to go in and out? Nothing was contacted about that for the town because it could be an accident.
Yeah, I saw it the other day. I took a ride yesterday.
And to me,
and I saw it,
that's a
and
hazard. It can be a hazard, especially if you got 5 cars, 10 cars, sometimes there's been 20 cars there.
Well, the thing for me was, and I brought this up a long time ago, is an approved curb cut for that quote unquote driveway that now exists into that makeshift parking lot that they've created there. And I'm sorry, the fence is a makeshift fence
Yes. I saw
that
them.
definitely goes
Horrible.
over 7
I
feet.
saw them
But
putting
you
it
think
up
it's over
and it
7
was-
feet? The fence?
I'm gonna have to
You
guess
think
that
so?
it is.
I
Yeah,
didn't see
I
that.
Which one,
wasn't
the
sure,
fence?
when I saw it, I said, oh my God, what is this?
I think it's not 7 feet. I think
The
it's
wind will
6
blow this thing.
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
Ryan, I watched them when they were
Yeah.
doing it and they were shoring it up with stones.
Yeah.
So certainly. Thank you, Mr. Lanky, for bringing this up. This
Yeah.
is an area of concern that we
Okay.
will continue to monitor.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's every Sunday.
Is it every Sunday?
Saturday
Yeah.
and
And
Sunday.
Saturday and
I've seen it
Sunday?
on pretty much every.
Yeah, I drove by at 5 o'clock.
Hang on a
Sunday,
minute. I'll even give you some times they
So they
start.
weren't there at 5 o'clock.
What's the penalty for a cease and desist?
Well, I
Oh, well,
mean,
we have them. I just have to research it. I
again, the
just
cease and
never-
desist was on operating a business.
Yeah.
I
Not
mean,
just
they're
having a
not
fun time.
registered as a business or anything.
No, they're not.
So
So
let's
they-
take them to court.
Yeah,
Who?
they're having a bunch of
On
friends
what
over to
grounds
play
though?
paintball.
Al?
Who takes them to court? The neighbors?
Yeah.
Running a
Possibly, as
business.
a
Well,
as
the
a civil,
neighbor
as
is
a
gonna,
civil case.
one garage door is
If this
painted,
stuff's being
half the
damaged,
house
yeah.
and the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, the neighbors.
Come on.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
as a
the-
civil
yeah.
case, yeah.
Yeah, it is a civil-
Everything they're doing defines what a business is.
Okay, so
Okay,
the
we've
other
been
thing
down
is,
this road, yeah.
This is
if the paintball is on if the
9
paint is
o'clock,
on the
8
street,
o'clock.
then that's the highway department too. You call the highway department.
Sure.
and
I
say-
just, what is the process? I call the highway department. What do? They go knock on the person's door? what happens? What's the next step after
Mr.
that?
Chair, just 1 second.
You're right. I don't.
So again, not to
Well, I-
go back to the ordinance, I think some research needs to be done in a strategic way to make sure that something else is done about this particular property, right?
Well,
Because I think
that-
they're operating under the assumption that this is
Cindy and.
funding games for their family.
No.
I mean, no, but that's what they're doing,
Yeah, I know.
right? And
Cindy,
they
this
do
might
it every
be-
Saturday and Sunday. They
It's
have
their
fun and
defense.
games for their family and
Court.
who's stopping
The
them?
neighbors take them to court.
Cindy,
That's-
this might be a
yeah,
place
so-
where it's
Yeah.
appropriate to contact Roberts, although I suspect that we're not going to get a really satisfying answer here
We're
because
not
if
going to.
if they have in fact dissolved the LLC and, you know, they've ceased and desisted doing the thing that we have the authority to tell them to cease and desist. It's not clear to me how much
What
else we can
recourse we
ask them
have.
to do or not do as private landowners. But if it appears that they are operating a business illegally, it might be worth asking Roberts what options the town has.
I believe that there still is an LLC because it's still registered under Connecticut. I've looked it up.
Yeah,
You
you
did
found
look
it.
at
I
it 'cause-
didn't find it.
Oh,
You
I can-
couldn't
I'll-
find it
I'll
'cause-
give
Well,
it
I
to you.
thought that it was dissolved.
Okay, so I can.
Oh, I'll give you the name.
Okay.
And the other thing that I want to bring to your attention, commissioners, is that they have 2 porta johns there. So when you're having 2 porta johns, that means you're having quite a bit of
More
people,
than 2 people.
more than 2 people.
Well, people you don't want in your house.
So,
I understand the parties you have that, but
So Cindy,
yes.
you were gonna say, you were gonna ask a
Oh,
question. I think.
So wouldn't that be a Northeast District Department of Health issue? Why, do they have regulations on how many porta johns and why you can have it? I mean, I don't
You
know.
just rent them
You
anytime.
can
I don't
rent them.
think so.
Anybody can rent them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, we need you.
You've come out with a lot of to-dos in this meeting, Cindy.
Do you want more?
No.
Any other citizens' comments at this time?
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, commissioners' comments. Mr.
Uh,
Blackmer.
If anyone's interested, Connecticut Farm Bureau is putting on a webinar, Understanding PA 490 webinar, Wednesday evening. If you want the information, I have it.
Yeah.
I'll copy this and so that you can take it on.
Do you want me to copy it now?
Yep, please.
Thank you, Randy.
Just be aware, there is a cost associated to this one. I know the one he's talking about. It's not a huge cost, but it is a cost.
Great, thank you, Randy, for sharing that. Anything else?
I do.
Mr. Krogel.
Okay, I'm just confused. If we are talking about zoning regulations and changing them, I'd like to know when we get to address the setbacks and everything else, because I have concerns about setbacks and accessory buildings not being allowed in front of dwellings. You know, whether it be shed, garage, or anything else. So when may we be able to discuss something of that nature? Would it be at a regular meeting here, or on a subcommittee meeting, or wait?
Yeah, so I think, yes, to all those things.
all
I think the best avenue for that would be in a subcommittee meeting. But, you know, right, so we've talked about the September updates, right? And so we started really looking at September updates sometime around July and August. What we can do is sort of start looking at that, at some of those big items that, you know, are gonna have a lot of discussion surrounding them, you know, instead of doing, you know, while not necessarily doing weekly or every other weekly meetings like we do when we get close to it, but, you know, once, you know, a one every other month and start.
And another suggestion I might have, Mr. Chairman, is since we, meaning the staff and the commission, have committed to that annual update, and you know you're targeting the September, October timeframe to get it done, and that therefore the discussions of the substance is going to come somewhere in the late spring, early summer, to set aside on one agenda early in the year, January, February, March, a new business line item for potential topics for the annual update. We can put those things up front. That gives me and Cindy the time to do the background work So that when that June, July timeframe runs around, we're bringing you something to look at,
As opposed to just starting.
as opposed to just in the middle of that process, sort of throwing new topics out, because that is what happened, and you and I discussed that a little bit, Mike, that at the time you raised it again, we were pretty far down into that memo. So, and then it becomes sort of unwieldy to backtrack. So again, this is a known thing that we're going to be doing in the fall, and we know we're going to start talking about it in earnest in the late spring, early summer, right? So before that, let's pick 1 month where those topics are introduced and that we have enough time to then bring it to you.
And if you don't see it on an agenda by April, bring it up. I know you won't forget.
I have something to say, and seeing that we're just going through this now, we can't add that on to the one that we're working on now.
Well, that's sort of what we're talking, like, we're so far along in that process that to jump into a new, really heavy topic. Backtrack this.
What's the topic? Okay, I have just one quick question.
Mhm.
Cindy's gonna do the research on the penalties for things that are happening with what Amy had brought forward to us. That comes back to us before it goes to Amy?
Yeah.
Okay.
The setback issue, I think, so Cindy, Mike asked about the setbacks and looking at the regulations for setbacks for accessory buildings in the front yard. I think that all of the, from my experience, the cases that have come up to you, you've brought to us and we've addressed them, you know, so they haven't been like brushed off.
No, they haven't been brushed up, but there's no reason for them to happen in the first place.
Agreed, but it's, yeah, so that's a. I
And-
just want to.
And just to be clear, that this is a topic that has been discussed and voted, this particular topic, which is, you know,
Yeah, it's
Mike's
been voted.
topic of particular interest, has been addressed multiple times in votes by this commission. So that was one of the reasons I advised putting it off, because
Yeah,
it
but-
was voted on in the last update.
It was, but I believe it was a mistake, and I think the board should readdress it.
Yeah, so I would just recommend, let's get it on it as a list of topics to revisit, for sure.
I don't want to push down the road.
It's not as much as an issue as it was when they had to go to the zoning board of appeals. It's much easier now. Because you generally say yes.
Still think it's wrong.
Yeah, okay. No, I hear that.
Anything else for commissioners' comments? Hearing none, the next meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission will be a special meeting on Thursday, October 20th at 7 p.m. here in the Merrill Sine Room and via Zoom. And our next regular meeting is October 24th at 7 p.m. here in the Merrill Sine Room and on Zoom. Item 18.
Question?
Yes.
The answer, the question and answer period, that's going to be a Zoom.
TVA at this time. We've
Was the
established
October
the date.
20th meeting?
No, the
No, the
13th.
13th,
The
the
13th.
informal
That can't be
Q&A.
insane. That's
No,
very
the-
good.
I just
No,
said-
it has to be both.
The 20th was just, I just said was a hybrid, is a hybrid. meeting.
Right, but on the 13th, that should be both too. There are just a lot of people who just don't want to go on Zoom.
Item 18. I will entertain a motion.
Yes, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned at 9:09 p.m. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Mr. Hill and Mr. Blackmer.
You have a job to do.
Yeah.
Sitting on the table out there.
All of them.